Mr. Chairman, we are live.
All right, very good. This is the meeting of the July 2021 meeting of the Kentucky State Board of Elections. We have just been in closed session and are still, I guess, literally in closed session. I need a motion to come into open session.
I make that motion.
Motion by Member Lane, a second by Member Johnson. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Very good. We're back in open session, and I believe we have a motion that needs to be made related to a grant application. Would anybody be prepared to make that motion?
Mr. Chairman, I would.
Member Skolnick.
Sure. Let me just state for the record that we just had an executive session discussing security issues. And so I want to be careful in my motion, Mr. Chairman, not to divulge anything that I shouldn't in open session. And so I'm going to try my best not to do that. We just had a discussion of confidential security issues. In connection with that, we reviewed our participation in 2 grants related to security issues. And I would move after our discussion, Mr. Chairman, that the board pause its participation in those 2 grants as premature and request that the staff analyze the technology at issue and come back to the board with a future recommendation on the board's participation and or the use of those technologies.
I'll second that motion.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion passes, and we will move on to the next section, and that is to you, Mr. Secretary. We will go to you, and we'll receive your report now. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'll be very brief. I just have a couple things. First, I apologize for being a stickler, but there are a couple of things in the minutes I would like to see us amend. I take these real seriously because I've seen our board's minutes be evidence in litigation, be investigated in the course of criminal investigations. We also have citizens and journalists and others who request these and look at them. So I just want us to be really, really cautious and precise with the wording of these. If you go to page 3 of the board book, at the top it says, this is about how to vote with reasonable impediment in case you don't have and can't get a photo ID. It says, in addition, an old credit card or debit card will be accepted. This is not what the statute says. It's not for old expired cards. If you go down 2 paragraphs, House Bill 574 is listed as House Bill 57. I think there's just a typo there, a 4 missing. I know these seem like little picky things, but I think they are important to try to get right if we can. Because we do have these come up in the future sometimes. And this is gospel, this is official once we vote on it. So could I respectfully request that you all, after the fact, now vote to amend the minutes in those 2 ways from our last meeting in June? Thank you.
I certainly don't have any problem with that. We certainly agree with you that the minutes ought to be as correct as they possibly can. Does anybody else have a problem with that? Well, could I get a motion to amend the minutes as stated by Secretary Adams?
I make that motion.
Motion by Member Whitehouse and a second by Member Lane. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Very good. Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Thanks for doing that. I just have one more item. Obviously, everyone's aware of the unfortunate passing of Senator Buford and Leader Carney in the last couple of weeks. Obviously, we all thought so highly of them, and our thoughts and prayers go out to their families. I don't know when the governor will be calling a special election in each of those districts. I've not spoken with him about it. There's no particular rush, I don't suspect, because there's no session imminent. But for all we know, there might be one later in the year for redistricting or potentially something else. And so I do anticipate that we will have at least 2 special elections sometime in 2021, one for the House district in Taylor County and the other for the Senate district in Jessamine, Mercer, Washington, Garrett, and a little snippet of Fayette. Our office is preparing something to explain very clearly what parts of House Bill 574 do apply in a special election scenario, which parts do not. So we'll be putting something together. I certainly welcome y'all's input. We may forward that over to the staff in case you all have anything that you want to change or augment or reduce for that matter. But I do expect that we're going to get a lot of questions and calls once those elections are declared. People with questions about, okay, well, what are the rules now? The rules were one way in 2019, one way in 2020. What are they in 2021? It's confusing, and for good reason, because we have this new bill. But just so folks, including the election officials, are well informed about what to expect, we'll be working on that and welcome your input on that. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Secretary, and we appreciate that. I think we all want to make sure we get that right, and that everybody, that number one, we comply with the law, and number two, that everybody understands what they can and cannot do so that the elections will run smoothly. And I'm not terribly worried about it because we did such a good job last year. I fully expect the staff and the clerks who are involved would be involved in that, and everybody else and the Secretary of State and everybody to do a splendid job again. So thank you very much for that. Anybody have any comments about the election? I think Karen may discuss it at least briefly in her report in a minute. Well, not hearing anything, I'll turn to you, Karen, and you can go ahead and make your report and also tell us anything that we may need to know about the potential 2 special elections. I also would concur with the Secretary that it's a tragic thing and in many respects unexpected that those 2 gentlemen are no longer with us, and they were both excellent public servants. Karen?
Good morning again. I do want to also mention one more time, and I know Chairman Chandler has said it as well. Jared apologizes that he can't be on this call today in any fashion. He's in an accelerated program currently, which is taking considerable time from him, but this program will be over in about 3 weeks, in which case his time will free up a little bit more and make himself more available. So we hope to see him at the August meeting for sure. But I did want to just bring that up, and he asked me if I could provide a little bit of information on his behalf this morning. And but again, just as Secretary Adams said, and just as the chairman said, all of us at SBE extend our sincere condolences to the family of Representative Bam Carney and Senator Tom Buford. Yes, they were a tremendous loss and had been long-serving and valued members of the legislature over many years, and they will be missed. House Bill 574, of course, at the last meeting, the board did approve emergency regulations in the case of a special election or a local option election. And of course, now we may have scheduled elections in 2021, as the secretary said. But I am going to ask Taylor if he could just go over the statute in terms of scheduling, the way the scheduling would happen for a special session in the event of that a seat needs to be filled.
Taylor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the secretary said, this is going to be 2 special elections, and that's because the Constitution requires that. It says that no member of the General Assembly will be appointed. There'll need to be special elections. Because the General Assembly is not in session right now, the falls to the governor to issue the writ of election. There's no real timeline on when that needs to happen. The only thing I can really give you all for timeline right now is that statutorily, the sheriff has, I think it's 56 days in each county. The governor needs to deliver the writ of election to the sheriffs 56 days before the election, minimum 56 days. Then the sheriff's got to post notice of the election 49 days. Then, of course, we have UOCAVA 45 days. So say all of that just to say we will have at least a small window there of lead time that will know when the governor plans on setting these special elections. But as of now, I think Jared has reached out to the governor's office, and I don't want to speak too much for Jared here, but I don't think we have heard anything about dates either from our side. But any questions about the timeline, as I know more, I'm happy to answer them for you.
Anybody have any questions about that? All right. Thank you, Taylor. Karen, you have anything else?
Just a couple of more items. This is for information only to the board. We have or will be submitting to the Personnel Cabinet for the establishment of a new position, which will be Resource Management Analyst 2. We do have the capacity already and the budget dollars to move forward with this position. The primary duties of this position would be to supervise and advise executive staff on list maintenance. A smaller percentage of this position will be compliance, to know compliance and be assured to us that we are in compliance with procurement policies related to Kentucky state law. Plus, it will also be a small percentage will provide some financial and budgetary support to Rachel in her duties as executive staff advisor and taking care of all the fiscal responsibilities for SBE. And it is a merit position. It doesn't require board approval, but just wanted to make the board aware.
Thank you.
And finally, I was just going to say as well that we hope the plan, we're looking for the plan in the August meeting to be in person. But we will also have Zoom available for members and, a hybrid where there can be some interaction. Jared had discussed it at the last board meeting, but should members be Zoom and some of us in person, there would be good interaction still. We will have that set up in that request, as part of that. So does anybody have any questions for me this morning or?
Anybody? All right. Well, Karen, we thank you very much for filling in for Jared. You're doing a great job. I don't know. Do we want Jared to come back? Karen's doing.
Oh, yes, we miss him.
Jared won't want to hear that. No, we miss Jared terribly, but we're grateful to you for being able to ably fill in. The next thing on the agenda is other business. And before I don't know that we've got any other business, but I do want to just reiterate how grateful we are to Corey and Sherry for the work that they put in. They put in a lot of work this month to look at those grants, which a lot of technical stuff was involved. And we're tremendously grateful for the thorough and really good job that you all did. Thank you two very, very much. Anybody have any other business? All right, hearing none. The last remaining item that we've got is to confirm our meeting for next month. And I've got that down for August the 17th at 10 a.m. I hope that suits everybody. All right, very good. That's August 10th, 2021. It will be the next at 10 a.m. will be the next meeting of the State Board of Elections. With that, I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by member Lewis. Do I have a second?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. You just said August 10th. Did you mean August 17th?
I did. So my apologies. It's August 17th at 10. That must be where I got the 10. I'm getting a little slow in my dotage, Mr. Secretary. Thank you for making sure that that was corrected. August 17th at 10 a.m. All right, we've got a motion. Do we have a second to adjourn?
Yes, yes, I second it. The
Second
motion.
by member Lane. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you guys very much.